Hey, what's up, everybody? Here we are, Vox&Hops number 28. I'm still out on the road. I'm in my bandwagon right now. The tour's been amazing. We've been having such a great time at the Hell Over North America, the ultimate blast beat party. Sadly, this past Sunday, Benighted had to fly back home to France. It was organized this way. They could only get so much time off of work. And, we've been missing them. Julian and the rest of the boys have just such a positive outlook on life. They're just the coolest dudes to be around. Big smiles, big hugs all the time. We deeply miss you. So now Hell Over North America continues with Aborted, Cryptopsy, and Hideous Divinity. Going on for another 2 weeks. Just about tonight, we are in Reading, Pennsylvania at the Reverb. We've had a great week. I'm overwhelmed by the generosity of all the Vox&Hops Heads and Cryptopsy fans that are supplying some delicious craft brews for me and the rest of the Cryptopsy crew on this run this past week. I got to give a big shout out to Rob and Sofia Lutterman, who came out in Dallas, Texas at the Gas Monkey Bar and Grill live and brought us a bunch of delicious beers. So huge shout out to you guys. Aaron Mendiola, you brought me some serious stuff, which I just finished one while I interviewed Alexander Kendrick, our tour manager / sound man, and it was a delicious Imperial Russian Stout aged in maple bourbon barrels with smoked vanilla. It is absolutely delicious. It is No More Metal by Jester King. What a great beer that was. I have to admit, that is my beer of the week, so thank you, Aaron Mendiola, for that. Last night we had two girls bring us out some delicious brews. I got to give a big shout out to Nicole Elizalde and Angeles Martinez. Thank you, girls, for bringing me out some delicious Space Dust IPAs from Elysium and some Bell's Brewery. They brought us out the Two-Hearted Ale. So thank you for all of you who have hooked us up and has been bringing us some delicious brews. You should definitely come to this tour. If you haven't got your tickets yet, you should. The ticket links will be in the description, as always. So get ready to listen to the second interview I did on the Hell Over North America tour. It's Mike Miczek from Broken Hope, The Atlas Moth, and Power Mad. Here it is, Vox&Hops, episode number 28.
I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
What's up, everybody? Tonight, we are in Chicago. And as you can hear in the background, we got some trains running.
Choo-choo.
Today, I'm with Mike Miczek. Yes, finally.
Nailed it.
The drummer of Broken Hope. I met you. You were filling in for Jungle Rock.
Yes.
And you also play with the Atlas Moth and Power Mad.
Nailed it.
Awesome. So what's up, dude? It's been a long time we've seen each other. Last time I saw you was when I came through Chicago on the Cannibal Corpse tour.
Oh, that's
with
right.
Obituary and Abysmal Dawn, and I haven't seen you since then. So,
yeah,
so what's up?
Gee, not a whole lot, man. Been staying busy. Yeah, holy shit. I totally forgot about that tour. That night was a blur.
That was a great night.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, my God. But, man, just staying busy, living the dream. Oh, God, did I just drop that cliche? Gross. But, man, yeah, was out with Broken Hope a couple times last year in Europe. Atlas Moth dropped a new record last year, and we were out and about in the States, so been keeping super busy, man.
That was a great tour, the Paradise Lost.
Oh, man, it was a hoot jamming with those guys. They sadly only played shit off of Gothic and Further, but every night they were crushing it. They were probably one of the tightest bands I've ever seen tour. Like, really, in terms of all that. They played the tracks. Walt is such an awesome drummer. And watching them play Gothic every night really just made my fucking year.
You very graciously brought us some beer to taste.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is, I assume it's from Half Acre Beer Company from Chicago. It's called the Daisy Cutter Pale Ale.
Absolutely.
Are you a craft beer enthusiast?
Oh, totally. And actually, this Daisy Cutter Pale Ale is probably one of the beers that got me into craft beer. It's one of the first craft beers I had out of Chicago. And in terms of like what a pale ale is, in terms of the hoppiness and the brightness and kind of like the fruity notes on it, it totally changed my perception of what beer could taste like.
Awesome. So on that note, let's give her a taste.
Yeah, there we go.
Cheers, brother. It smells very nice, very fruity. It's got an excellent aroma. Oh, it's smooth, not too bitter, not overly malty.
Wow.
Very nice. And a little bitterness comes in at the end.
It's not too terribly drying, but just enough that it's pleasant. It makes you want to take another sip.
Yeah, a lot of pale ales or IPAs from the West Coast, more style, tend to be more too bitter for me now.
Oh, God, yeah. I've totally got hop fatigue. And I've noticed that with a lot of my craft beer friends over the years because they're so used to drinking all those hefty West Coast double IPAs. You know, how many IBUs can you rack up? And then all of a sudden it's like, I can't taste anything anymore.
Hop fatigue, is that what you call it?
Totally. Like when you get one of those, I remember Lagunitas had a really good one called Hopped Stupid that I would totally refer to as just a palate wrecker. Because you couldn't taste anything after you drank it.
Anything after over like 90 IBU is...
Yeah, it's just like, it just tastes the same. You know, all of a sudden start walking around thinking like you ate a bar of soap or some bad cilantro.
What would be the beer or the brewery that really opened up your mind to craft beer?
Man, I would have to say it was Stone. And it was easily 15 years ago. I found Arrogant Bastard at a little liquor store when I was somewhere out in New York. And I was like, what is this? This bottle looks hilarious. It's offensive. There's something with devil horns on it. And I cracked it open after I bought it, and I had no idea that beer could be that hoppy, that bitter, be so complex. Like, I'd been so used to, like, I don't know if you could even do... I mean, Sam Adams Boston Lager back in the day used to be awesome. Still a great introductory beer, but, like, Arrogant Bastard tasted nowhere near that. So that's really what kind of blew my mind open to be like, oh, yo, beer can be wild. It can be anything.
If you had to pick your favorite beer of the moment...
Ooh. Jesus, that's rough. Especially in Chicago where the beer scene is so big right now.
I don't know what's bigger, if it's Chicago's bigger or if Montreal's bigger.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's hard. Yeah, I don't know.
Every time I go to Montreal, I find a new brewery that I've never heard of, and everything I have is just amazing.
At this local store, this girl that works there was telling me that they get 40 new arrivals every week.
Oh, my God.
That's insane. Yeah, they can't taste it all.
Dude, man, I'm going to have to check. There's a local place up on the north side of Chicago called the Beer Temple, and they're always getting new shit all the time, so I'm going to have to inquire about their latest imports from Quebec the next time I go up there.
Yeah. You know, there's obviously Ciel, but there's a whole slew of other ones that are up on the rise. They're like a Schlag and Shelton Brewery. Really,
I've
really
heard of
strong.
Shelton. All right,
really strong stuff coming out of there. I have to talk about Three Floyds.
Yes.
Because they're also very metal.
Oh, God, yeah.
And they do a lot of beers for bands.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had to make a beer for Broken Hope with Three Floyds, what would you call it?
I can't take the easy way out and say Broken Hops, because that's just being lazy. But, you could go the Dead Hop.
Mm-hmm.
Brutalated and assimilated.
Mm-hmm.
What else can I think of that'll make Flo groan?
Brutal ale and assimilated.
Brutal ale and oh no, this is getting way too deep. Dilation and cold extraction. I don't know.
It's cryo hopped.
Yeah, nailed it.
Do you remember your first experience with alcohol?
Probably as a kid. And my dad was always kind of into craft beer and weird stuff, and that's totally how I got into it, was just picking it up around him. And it was probably drinking something like Goose Island Honkers Ale, or I was saying, Sam Adams Boston Lager was stuff he always had around the house. So just having sips of it when you're at a family party or something and be like, Dad, what are you drinking? Why do you always have that? What is that? And I remember thoroughly enjoying it, because I remember people always saying, it's like, oh, well, you know, it's an acquired taste or whatnot. And it's just like, no, it's kind of always been around. My family always drinks it. Alcohol has always been a communal thing. So it kind of picked it up from there.
There's something about craft beer, it just brings people together. It just touches this nerve of pride that people want to share it with people.
Absolutely.
I'm always baffled with the support that I'm getting on this run of people bringing beers for me to taste them. It's been really fucking awesome. Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah. Dude, there's something to be said. It totally crosses over with, like, metal culture in itself, that communal aspect, where it's like back in the day when you were finding new bands and being like, dude, you gotta see this, you gotta try this, you gotta listen to this. And, like, beer is totally that same way.
It's true, yeah. It's really right on the nerve.
Totally.
You do session work for bands in the past.
Yeah.
How do you approach doing that? Learning songs so quickly when you get thrown under the bus. You know, you got 2 weeks to learn a set.
Right.
How do you go about doing that?
I think it all goes back to not only just jamming to the material over and over again, but looking at stuff that that band or maybe that project has done in the past to kind of get an idea of where they're at, where they want to go. I mean, I even had that going into Broken Hope, where it was like, okay, cool, we're going to write new music. Sweet. So the first thing I should do is kind of look back to see what maybe Ryan Stanek was doing on those earlier records, try to formulate something around that, but then also add my own flair to it. It was like a big way I learned how to play drums when I was a kid would just be to put on records and play to them constantly. So kind of taking that same approach when it comes to a project where get into a room, let's get that track and let's jam it over and over again, try different beats, try different patterns, try to figure out what would fit the song, what would help the song, where to lay back, where to experiment a little bit. So really, it's playing, it's experimenting.
Did you always want to start off as a drummer, or were you like a guitarist that fell into drums, or?
I was forced into piano when I was in first grade, and did that for about 5 years. And then after that, I really wanted to play guitar, because I had seen the Beatles' A Hard Day's Night, and I was like, oh, that looks like a cool gig. And then when I was in second grade, I kept getting in trouble because I was constantly hitting my pencil on my desk without realizing it. And I think that's when it kind of clicked. I was like, oh, I've got this nervous twitch that I should probably do something with.
What kind of a kid were you in school?
Kind of a class clown, but kind of shy. I didn't necessarily have a group of friends, but I had many acquaintances.
So you early on you discovered you wanted to play drums. Your parents were supportive, I assume?
Absolutely.
Since they're cool and they like craft beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Who would be some of your early drumming influences?
So after dropping that little Hard Day's Night quip, definitely Ringo. And from there, I got into a lot of that early British rock, so definitely Keith Moon was up there, John Bonham was up there. From that, you kind of progress to Sabbath, so those early Sabbath records where Bill Ward is just a groove machine. Then you get into Maiden, and you've got Nico doing his really weird jazz things. So all of those, and kind of did that classic progression where you start with classic rock, and then you go to hard rock, and then you start doing some proto-metal, and then heavy metal. So then by the end of it, I was really getting influenced by those earlier groove drummers, and then mix some Dave Lombardo in there. Some speed, some spasticness.
Do you remember the first time you heard like an extreme metal drummer?
Yeah, and I think it had to have been either Morbid Angel or Sepultura, because I remember picking up both Arise and Altars of Madness in the same trip to the record store.
Okay.
And I think I remember the absolute intensity of Igor's drumming, and then the insane speed of Pete. And I think both of them together was just this like, holy shit, this is what I need to be doing right now.
Was it something you thought that you could do?
Absolutely not.
No, me too. Yeah. Back in the day when I first heard like Slipknot screaming and stuff and all that, I was like, I could never do that.
Never do that. Like, that's fucking awesome. How am I going to do that?
Yeah. So what steps did you get to become the drummer that you are now?
Definitely jamming to those records, man. It'd be putting on Arise and doing that first track and seeing how many minutes I could get into the song before I just fell off the drum throat. And then just simple things like sitting with a practice pad, sitting with a click. As awful as it is, if you're not going to put in the time and effort with practicing and trying to better yourself, then bettering yourself just really isn't going to come, or at least not fast anyway. So that's something. Sitting with a metronome may seem boring, but it's definitely changed my life in terms of getting better, being more precise, getting speedier, all that fun stuff.
What is something about your drumming that you wish was better?
I would say my independence, trying to get my limbs to do different things at the same time.
It's very complicated. I can't do that.
It's insane. Absolutely insane. I've been listening to a lot of like gospel drummers like Eric Moore and cats like that, who are just watching them fly around this kit and doing a million things with their hands, and it's like, how slow down, how are you doing that?
Who do you think is the top extreme metal drummer out there right now?
Ooh.
It doesn't matter that Flo's sitting right beside you.
No pressure, right? Shit. Whose house am I in right now? There's so many. I mean, obviously, no bias here, but I would throw Flo in that. But also, I think Ash from Revocation is somebody who I've really been enjoying watching. John Rice is somebody who just seems to fall into any project that needs a drummer and just fucking crushes it.
I've heard he's a big hophead beer guy.
I believe
Is that the right guy? Am I?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, most of these days, man, all of us seem to be. It's fucking awesome.
It is.
But I think those three, definitely, in terms of pushing boundaries of speed, putting new fun stuff in there. Those three, definitely.
Let's take it to another direction. Tour stories.
Oh, boy.
Let's start with your absolute worst experience on the road.
Ooh. Man, and I was trying to recall this story when I was talking to Justin from Decibel, but I think it was actually when we toured together in Europe. And I can't remember what little bodunk Eastern European shithole it was, but it had something to do with exploded bathrooms that didn't have any toilet seats on them.
Yes, that was in Czech Republic. It was in Prague.
Oh, my God. Oh, was that at, what was that, Mojover Pizza or whatever?
I don't remember, but there was the Fecal Party.
Oh, the Fecal Party. That's right.
Which is a show that they have going on. And
yes. And the poster had something to do with a guy serenading a turd out of a hat.
So horrible bathrooms.
Yes. Horrible bathrooms. I think it rained all day, and the venue was partially inside, partially outside. So it was muggy. It was gross. They had to try to shut everybody in and close the big barn doors while we played because it was just so nasty outside. And that was just horrendous. And then I think the showers afterwards were halfway across the city in this weird hostel where it was like a communal shower that had like 12 shower heads in it or something. It was, the whole damn day was weird.
I remember that too. That was a separate show though.
Oh my God. It all blurs together, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Were you on that gig? You were on that gig in the middle of the cornfield.
Oh, yes, where it got foggy and it was like Children of the Corn afterwards.
Yes, and there was nobody there.
No, there was 5 people and 4 of them left because they wanted to use our backline and we said no.
Exactly. The opening band shows up after their set time and they're mad because we won't let them use our gear.
Exactly.
So they heckled us the whole night.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, all 4 of them. All 4 of them. And then, because we walked out of the bus and we were like, where the hell are we? It's like the venue is right here in this barn. And then we looked down the street and all there was a dog that made direct eye contact with us while it squatted down and took a big old dump.
Unbelievable.
Oh, it's all coming back to me.
If you had to pick a dream tour, we could do it for each of your projects that they'll make it more interesting. Broken Hope on the road with 2 bands, the Atlas Moth, and Power Mad.
Oh, man. Thought about this, especially when you get home for a period of time and then you see other tours coming through and it's like, fuck, I wish we were on that.
Oh, yeah, it pisses me off.
Right? It's like, I'm always sitting at home being like, why am I here when I should be doing that?
I'm always happy for my friends getting big gigs, but there's always that little part inside you that's like,
yeah, exactly.
I could have been on that.
Yeah, I could have done that. I'm waking up and going to work today. These guys aren't. But man, I've always dreamt of Broken Hope going out with Cannibal, because I feel like that would be an amazing tour, especially since they were the first 2 death metal bands to get signed to Metal Blade back in the day.
Mm-hmm, that'd be amazing. Yeah.
I hate to say it, but I'm a big sucker for legacy tours. Like that Decibel tour that came through, I thought that was the perfect combination of old school
morbid
meets new school.
Morbid and Cannibal.
Yeah. And then these 2 newer bands, both Blood Incantation and Necrot, which is like the perfect mixture of old school, new school, death metal combining. But I'd say definitely Broken Hope, Cannibal, and shit. It's so hard to think of a third one.
It doesn't matter.
It'll come to me as soon as I put this microphone down.
The Atlas Moth.
The Atlas Moth, man, I feel like Paradise Lost and Solstifier was definitely kind of a dream tour, because in terms of 3 bands that are so completely different and yet have a strain that kind of runs together, that ties it all nicely in a bow, that would be pretty awesome. But I feel like Atlas Moth doing something with like Neurosis would be incredible.
That'd be huge.
Like Atlas Moth, Neurosis, and sure, let's throw Converge in there.
Yeah.
Because a combination of influences where you have 2 bands and then that third band is like the bastard child of those 2.
That's awesome,
I think that makes total sense to me.
And Power Mad.
Power Mad? Shit. You gotta think. I'm gonna think old school thrash here. Power Mad with, here we go. Let's do 2 other newly resurrected thrash bands, Demolition Hammer and Exhorder.
Disorder. Demolition Hammer.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Demolition Hammer had the best fucking riffs.
Let's talk about coffee.
All right.
Because for people at home, you work at Dark Matter.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Matter is probably one of the top... What is it? A coffee?
We are a proper roastery. We source
a roastery.
So we roast and source our own beans.
Wow.
We have direct relations with farms in both Guatemala and El Salvador, working on Colombia and trying to get Mexico in there as well.
It's all fair trade.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the
All the fun stuff. We literally go down to source and deal with the producers directly.
Really?
Yeah, which is awesome. I've been fortunate enough to go down to our relationship farm in El Salvador, and it's beautiful, man. We're up on the side of the Santa Ana Mountains, walking through the coffee fields, picking fresh cherries and popping them in your mouth.
You got to go down that way? Wow,
yeah.
That's amazing.
It was gorgeous. It was a beautiful time.
Why do you think Dark Matter's in the top roasteries?
I think it has to come down to our approach towards coffee, where it's, not only sourcing honestly, but also roasting honestly. We're not trying to over roast it for the masses. We're trying to roast it to what we feel is the best profile, where we feel the best flavors come out. We like experimenting with different strains of yeast, with different hops, which gives us an attitude more of like a brewery than it does your average coffee shop or coffee roastery. So I think that level of honesty with that level of experimentation is really what kind of sets us apart from any other roastery.
Were you always a fan of coffee?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was one of my other things growing up with my dad. We had moved out to the Chicago suburbs, but he still worked in Chicago. So it was taking the train into the city with him every day to either go to my grandparents or go to his office. And he would always have his cup of coffee in the morning. So I would always get a little thirsty and want to take a sip of it. And I despised it at the time. But you grow to like it. Ooh, beer.
We just got a nice delivery.
Yes, absolutely. That is a haul.
Michael Wagner, local Chicago boy, just brought us a lot of Three Floyds beer. Great big shout out to Michael. I greatly appreciate what you just did.
You got good taste, dog.
What's some music that you're listening to right now? A CD that you're addicted to?
Oh, man, that's a really good one. I have, and it was interesting because I was just talking about this with somebody earlier today. I've really been delving back into 70s rock.
Really?
And kind of just going back to the roots of it all, because it's something I really wrote off back in the day when all I wanted was something heavy, fast, and loud. Mm-hmm. But going back to like the one record I've been jamming by Buddy Miles, and I don't remember it off the top of my head, but it's got the song Them Changes on it. And just really groovy, funky, something with a nice horn section.
Oh, yeah.
Just going back and listening to all that, man. Something with groove, something melodic, something that you can really feel. And same for like going back to some old Grand Funk, going back to some Traffic, just going old school with it.
You know what I saw? There's a poster in there. Captain Beyond is playing here.
Oh, man. It's like the OG supergroup.
I know. I couldn't believe that they're even still playing.
Yeah, exactly. Those guys have to be ancient.
Who do you think is the next big band in metal coming up in the scene?
This may be a cop-out because they're pretty huge already, but I think Full of Hell, especially when they drop this new record, is just going to fucking fly the extreme metal flag for everybody. I think their last album, Trumpeting Ecstasy, was a masterpiece. And whatever they come up with next, I'm sure, is just going to absolutely top it.
Every time we talk about doing tours, what bands we tour with, I always throw their name in.
Fuck. Okay, so here we go. So it's Cannibal Corpse, Broken Hope, Full of Hell.
There you go.
We did a couple shows in Europe with Full of Hell last year, and I just wish that could have been an entire 3.5 weeks. Because those guys are fucking awesome. Their set is one of the most intense things I've ever seen. It just crushes.
Do you have any music vices?
Ooh, music vices.
Something that... 12-year-old. I don't know if you're like that, but the extreme metal, when you're like in your extreme metal period, if you like stumbled across your iPhone or playlist right now and you saw this band on it, you would be ashamed of yourself.
I think a couple things that would... I'm definitely not ashamed of it, but I think shit that would throw people for a loop is, first and foremost, the Monkees.
Really?
Love the Monkees. I think it's fucking beautifully crafted pop music that was done so damn well that'll just never be replicated. And I think Frank Zappa can back me up on that quote. I think the other one would definitely be Simon and Garfunkel. When I was out on tour with Internal Bleeding, I was jamming their greatest hits so hard. Because I think it's just when you're on a brutal death metal package, it's like the last thing I need to hear is death metal. So let's hear some fucking 60s folk.
Absolutely. I heard there was a lot of stories on that tour.
Oh God, yeah! Holy shit!
You had interesting drivers.
Yes, we had interesting.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh my God! So I think the best story about Obi-Wan Pierogi and Baba Ganoush. Geez, you can't tour with Internal Bleeding and not suffer some sort of hilarious brain damage, because that was probably the hardest I've ever laughed on the road. But it was definitely, we were getting out of England, and there was a detour, and they didn't know what a detour was. So instead of following the detour, they simply exited the highway, and we wound up in a forest preserve somewhere in England, scraping against the cars on the side of the road and crashing into trees.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, I have no idea. Well, we had to wake up our tour manager, Tomas, because he was the only other one on the bus that spoke Polish other than the bus drivers. We were like, Tomas, you got to wake up. We're in a fucking forest.
I believe Stefano was your sound guy on that.
No, Stefano actually wasn't on that tour.
No.
He was. We met Stefano on Cow Decapitation, and I love him to death.
Yeah. Shout out to Stefano.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, yes. I love that man. But that tour was hilarious. I got robbed on that tour.
No, you
we got
didn't.
lost on that tour.
How did you get robbed? Let's talk about that.
We were in Essen, Germany. We were playing Turok.
Yeah.
And I wasn't feeling too well that night, so I went to bed early, popped some Advil, and I put my backpack out in the common area because I didn't want to sleep with it at night because I just needed the leg room. And one of the bums that was walking around must have watched us key in the code, because when we woke up in the morning, we had been ransacked. They obviously opened the door, started at the driver's side. They grabbed the GPS. They grabbed my bag. They grabbed the bass player from Internal Bleeding's bag and a couple of laptops, I think.
That's just horrible. That's
And
like
we didn't realize until woke up in the morning and we were halfway to the next gig, and my passport and my wallet were in my bag.
fuck. What did you do?
Oh man! So after furiously calling all my credit card companies to cancel my card, my immediate next step was to call my parents and be like, "Hey, I'm stranded abroad without a passport. So I don't know what to do about this." So kind of had them do some resourcing. It got so far as they were calling some family that I had in Stuttgart to see if I could stay with them if I couldn't leave the continent.
Really?
But mercifully, we were playing Berlin 2 days later. So it was a matter of rolling up to the venue, and me and Tomas, who was our tour manager at the time, went straight to the embassy. And I had a temporary passport printed in 10 minutes.
Oh, wow. You're lucky.
It was ridiculous. Well, Tomas waited outside because he was of Polish nationality and they wouldn't let him in.
You're so stupid. You must have been unbelievably stressed.
Oh, so stressed.
Yeah. And then your laptop and all that.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a loss. But you live and you learn. When you're touring on the road, like
That's true. That's true.
You get used to everything under the sun happening to you.
That's true.
So you come out of it unscathed, maybe with a little less clothes. The worst part was, I mean, other than the passport, was the fact that since we were in Essen, we had gone to Century Media headquarters a little bit earlier in the day and ransacked their vault.
That's right. Yeah.
So everything I nabbed from them was in that bag. Lost some pretty dope box sets, some good T-shirts, and my passport.
That sucks.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I'm at a loss here.
What would be the best gig that you ever played? If you had to pick one.
Oh, my God. You know, I think, while it's a cop-out to kind of say, like, you know, bringing the European festival circuit into it, last year at Brutal Assault was definitely a highlight for me.
I love that festival.
Dude, it's one of the most best-run festivals I've ever played.
I love it. It's for people that don't know, it's like in a old castle.
Mm-hmm. Like an army barrack.
An army barrack, yeah. And it's like somewhat destroyed.
Yeah.
And they like just... It's just the best festival.
It really is.
They have like two stages inside where it was like a big courtyard, I want to say, and there's like all these walls that surround it.
Oh yeah,
and they're all like bricks, which are all broken.
And there's people camping up on the hill and all that. Yeah. But man, I mean,
you have to walk down like this long tunnel.
Yeah, you have to like really walk through the barrack in order to get to the stage.
Yeah, it's from the backstage area. It's what I played there 3 times, and I'm always happy when I see
every
it pop
time
up
we
again.
played there. It's ruled. And this past year it was Broken Hope, and then Municipal Waste played. Converge was later in the night. Liabach played. I mean, it's just insanity. It was so eclectic and so amazing. And
the backstage area is just like one big common thing.
Yeah, one big common area.
Super cool too.
Huge party, great catering.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of times at these big festivals they like segregate different stages to different areas for backstage, or your backstage is like all these little tents. Like if you've done Hellfest or something.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's all really isolated and concept. It's like literally a maze of tents and trailers.
Yeah, whereas Brutal Assault, it's just one big open thing, so you get to see the headliners, you get to see everyone.
Exactly.
It's like a big medley of awesomeness.
Oh, it's a party. I mean, we ran into Ross Dolan out there, and Immolation wasn't even playing that summer. He was just fucking hanging.
He was on vacation.
Yeah, he was on vacation, just hanging and chatting with everybody that he knew. I loved that.
2-3 years ago, we had a few shows canceled. So we just went straight to Brutal Assault, and we hung out there for 3 days.
Oh, that's so legit. I mean, that sucks, but that's so awesome.
We had a lot of fun.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, Cirque, Elo, and Tam, and Ulf.
Nice.
Which is our alter egos when we had too much to drink. Definitely overindulged on some of those days.
Oh god.
But it was super fun. We got to see a bunch of bands.
Oh hell yeah.
Dillinger Escape Plan.
Ooh, I'm jealous of that.
Cataclysm, our boys from back home in Montreal. Yeah. It's always good to cross friends at festivals. This is actually the best part of it, is when you get to cross.
Oh, exactly.
People you haven't seen in so long at a festival. It's just awesome. Yeah.
Exactly. Watch them shred and then just drink it all away afterwards.
Do you have anything you want to add? Something, stuff you got coming up you want to promo?
Man, I mean, in terms on the Atlas Moth front, I mean, we're going to be laying a little bit low, and I think we're going to be writing the follow-up to our last record this year. So I'd say definitely stay posted for that. And since this will be coming up after it's announced, Broken Hope will be heading to Japan with Immolation for 3 or 4 dates in September.
That's sick. Yeah.
So I'm supremely looking for that. I think it's both of our first times over there.
I'm going in July. Japan I've only played it once, and I was there for a weekend.
Oh man,
I played Loud Park.
I feel like that's so not long enough.
We got there on a Friday and we left on the Sunday. So I'm excited to see more and be more like submerged in the culture, which is just so different from here.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's something that a lot of people who haven't toured don't realize, is the fact that, you get to go all these cool places, and it's like, yeah, I'm usually in the boondocks, I'm there for 12 hours and I don't see anything. That's right.
Mostly you like see it in the distance sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
And you cross like 3-4 train tracks and then there's the venue.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Mike, I'm happy that you came out.
Yeah,
you brought me good beer, spoiling us. Always fun seeing you.
Yeah, thanks. Likewise,
we're going to continue hanging out, but not with you guys listening. So,
nope.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, y'all.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Thank you so much for listening right to the end. I love meeting friends that I've toured with before on the road, and then getting to catch up with them in their hometowns, and just bouncing the shit off back and forth, like as if we were on the road again. It's one of my favorite things about touring, is catching up with people. Love Mike. I wish him all the best in all his projects. He's a very busy little drummer dude, and he's a super fun guy. And we had a great night after the show, and it was fun. It's fun. I hope to see you again soon, Mike. Coming up on the podcast next week, I have my interview, which I conducted in Denver in the basement backstage area of the club that we were in, the Marquee Theater. It is with Dave Otero, who runs Flatline Audio, which is an amazing recording studio. He's worked with bands such as Cephalic Carnage early in his career, and now he's at the helm for recording the recent and upcoming Cattle Decapitation record. So check all that out next week, Vox and Hops episode number 29. As always, I just want to give you guys a big thank you. I can't believe the support I'm getting, the amount of people that are coming up to me at the shows saying that they've been listening to the podcast, people that are just showing up, not even asking for guest lists, just providing me with some beers for the podcast. I really, really appreciate that. But if you would like to get a free ticket and bring me some craft beer in exchange, you can check that all out on the Cryptopsy Facebook page. Just give us a private message or send me a message, and we'll hook it up for the shows that are remaining on this tour. It's almost over. We're about 2 weeks out, and then this tour is over. Get your tickets. You don't want to miss this. We got some amazing big shows coming up. The Brooklyn, and we got Montreal, we got Quebec City, we got Toronto. We're super excited to hit all these big markets. It's been fun. Do not miss this tour. Get your tickets. Cheers, Vox and Hops Heads. I'll see you next week.